Hello and welcome back to another standard deck video. Today I'm going to be recording a kind of a throwback deck. This is being recorded about a week or so after the Pro Tour, the Brussels one with Dragons of Tarkir. And I honestly have not been keeping up with standard for the year. But I noticed one single card here. Deadly Wanderings, which is a very nice throwback to, well, it's not really a throwback if it's like 2 or 3 years old. The enchantment called Homicidal Seclusion from Avison Restored, which is the same mana cost. What this enchantment does right here is if I have exactly one creature, that creature gets +2 no death touch and lifelink. The Homicidal Seclusion, same mana cost, it just gave it +3/+1 and lifelink, no death touch. I actually prefer that one over this in the current meta for what this is designed for. So this is kind of a goofy card. It's obviously a build around me card. If you can stick this in a control shell and kind of manipulate the number of creatures you have, then you can have a funny deck. In the current standard meta where, for example, in our Pro Tour, we saw 3 blue-black control decks run. It's just, this is somewhat situational and possibly going to give a lot of deck archetypes a run for their money. So my original deck, I built the Homicidal Seclusion deck twice. First, when it was just Avison Restored, and I had the beautiful Falkenrath Aristocrats and Thundermaw Hellkites, a lot of theft spells. That was cute. When Return to Ravnica came out, we got the Cluestones. Not Cluestones, oh shit. The keyrunes, and I made it a Grixis deck with the Dimir and Rakdos keyrunes. Those, plus Homicidal Seclusion and lots of board wipes, worked phenomenally. Until Detention Sphere became a thing, and technically Aetherling designs and control builds were just superior, because they didn't even need the Homicidal Seclusion to work, it was just Aetherling. But we don't have Aetherling, we don't have a lot of like Azorius control decks with 4 D-Spheres main decked anymore. The best enchantment removal is just a few sideboard cards or Ugin. So running a whole bunch of enchantments right now, especially single-colored enchantments. So multi-color removal spells are not going to get them or exile them like the ones used for God. This is actually kind of funny. So the deck is designed around Deadly Wanderings. We are playing a playset of this card. This is a black-red control deck. One of my friends has called it the Kolaghan Wandering deck because everyone's wondering what Kolaghan's doing. It's just because the word Wandering's in here. So with 4 enchantments that require me to have 1 creature, obviously I want to control how many creatures I have. So I am running Kolaghan, the baby Kolaghan, simply for the dash mechanic, making him immune to sorcery speed removal and haste. So there's only 3 of them in here. I am running 3 Sarkhans, also because I can make him a creature. He doesn't always have to be a creature, and I love Grafted Skullcap. Again, the problem is there's a higher chance of seeing Silumgars. Otherwise, with so much, the amount of removal in here, he is usually safe from creatures. I got 3 of him. And probably the worst one is the Monument. Again, I really hate the fact that this costs 6 mana to activate. This is like the last ditch effort. The only reason this is actually still in the deck is simply because it is immune to the Ugin himself. But this is just, it's honestly a terrible card. This is not nearly as good as a Keyrune was. 6 mana to activate compared to like 2 mana to activate. Granted, you get a 4/4 flyer. That's decent, but honestly, there's so much removal in this deck. The Keyrune is infinitely superior to this, both the Rakdos and the Dimir. But we are running 4 because it does act as accelerant. Most control decks used to in standard will run about 26 lands. I'm only running 25. My curve is not as high since I am not running Ugin. If you, again, this is essentially a clone shell with this in place and no Ugins or Planeswalkers. You would probably see more like Liliana and Ugins and whatnots. So that is the offense. That is how the deck wins, through Deadly Wanderings. And, well, not through Deadly Wanderings, but through creature manipulation and control. To get there, we have to have a lot of board wipes and removal and a lot of discard. I do not currently have a playset of Thoughtseize. If you like this design and you have the funds, I would consider Thoughtseize. I'm not going to invest in them since they're going to rotate out shortly. So main deck, we have 3 Duress. And you'll see the sideboard here shortly. I'll keep it flat so it doesn't glare. I'm also running 3 Kolaghan's Commands. I love instant speed discard. Again, the sideboard has a lot of things that switch out I'll talk about shortly, but this gives us enough, the potential creature removal, the discard instant speed, that I could recur if someone actually somehow gets one of my Kolaghans out. Just 3 of them main deck. I'm actually really enjoying it. It destroys whips. It's just fantastic all around for what I need. But then of course we have the removal suite itself. I love Lightning Strike. I'm going to be very sad when this rotates. I'm hoping they get a replacement. I have an ongoing bet with a friend that they're replacing it with Thunderbolt. I could see them pre-printing Thunderbolt again, and that would probably do a nice replacement for Lightning Strike since there's a lot of dragons. Main decking 2 Foul Tongues. Again, I only have 3 dragons I can technically reveal, but the possible life gain offsets so much what's in the standard right now, and it is an instant speed edict. 2 main deck Anger of the Gods. Again, there's 2 more in the side. And 2 or 3? Yeah, 3 main deck Cruxes. So again, it's just absolute creature hate. The awkward matchup is, of course, going against Blue-Black Control and their own dragons. I will obviously have either an indestructible dragon, or I will not have a dragon out when I cast this. So, the good thing about running red, again, if you saw this, I'm not running any Bile Blights. I'm running Anger of the Gods over Bile Blight. Bile Blight is probably a better card. I'm enjoying Exile from Anger of the Gods, since that does make Delve a harder thing to do if I am exiling creatures instead of letting them go to the graveyard. But Bile Blight is potentially a better replacement if you're not running red. Obviously, I need draw. Outpost Siege is the draw mechanic for what I like right now. I could be running also Read the Bones again. I'm going to keep this because this is a permanent. It's harder to deal with, obviously, and it just does its job after I get 1 or 2 out. And then we're actually done. That's it. We're down to lands. Again, there's 25. So while we have them, we're running 4 temples before they rotate out. We're running the 4 fetches just because they're fetches. I'm actually running 8 lands that gave me life. The 4 tap lands and the 4 radiants. Again, the radiants are about to rotate out, which will be sad. These 8 lands that come into play and gave me life is really nice against burn and a few aggro designs, because this deck absolutely just destroys any kind of aggro strategies. If I run into a board wipe and blow out their hand, then it's usually just game. Main or basic lands, I'm only running 4 mountains and 5 swamps. I wanted more swamps over mountains so I can have a turn 1 duress. But let's go on to the sideboard. Sideboard is kind of under construction since, again, the Pro Tour, I'm recording this 1 week after that, and things change. If you know in Standard, things are just so fluid and things change so often. It's kind of hard to maintain a sideboard, so I'm just keeping the creature removal suite more prominent here. There's 2 Anger of the Gods and 2 more Foul Tongues. Again, instant speed. This helps get rid of the control creatures if they actually get them out. This is kind of a weird one. I wanted to put more of these in the sideboard just to kill rhinos and Abzan Reanimator whatnots, because it does exile graveyards. It costs 5 mana. If this were not an instant, I wouldn't even consider this, but it kills a rhino and it kills a graveyard. The alternative there was Active Treason, because with an Elspeth, I don't have a lot of ways of dealing with an Elspeth. But if they get a rhino out and they have an Elspeth and they have some tokens, I can Active Treason a rhino, and that rhino has trample. It's going to get +2 and 0, so I can get an Elspeth very, very low if I Active Treason one of the rhinos. I'm probably going to remove this and put more burnaways in. I'm in between right now. Again, if I could afford Thoughtseizes, I would probably not be running Despise in the sideboard. It would just be 3 Thoughtseize in main deck. There's 1 extra command. There's actually Mind Rots. This is not a card that you would normally think being in Standard, but again, there's going to be an insurgence of Blue-Black control decks for a little period of time here. This is my best way of stopping them, because both of us, both the Blue-Black control or whatever control deck against this, it's whoever gets their landfalls better. This is the same reason why a Palace Siege is in the deck. Granted, these will be removed by a Gadoojan attack if I can't stop it, but this is something that will just slowly bleed out. And also that life gain. Life gain right now against aggro and burn is just an absolute game war. But yeah, again, this is not going to be a tier deck anywhere. Not tier 1, not tier 2, not tier anything. This is casual and stupid. It's funny because this blows out so many opponents. Like, so many archetypes is completely crippled by this. And the awkward one is they're going up against control. This is a version of control, so a strictly control deck will be strictly better. But being that some of my offense is just so hard to deal with, I have assuming I always dash out Kolaghan, which was the idea, I am immune to instant speed removal. These are immune to Ujins, and not many people are packing a whole bunch of artifact removal. There's Sarkin, of course, who I'm hopefully just going to keep on plussing up, and then a Dashy Kolaghan is a Dashy Kolaghan. The enchantments here are essentially just to give lifelink and really prolong a game. I really do wish... The Death Touch is nifty, but it is not necessary for what this deck needs. Without any man lands to animate on the opponent's turn, Death Touch is technically useless. I would much prefer to have the +1/+1 from Homicidal Seclusion, because it makes the toughness of some of my creatures out of burn range. It makes it so I can actually trade or kill a Rhino. The +1 power does help with the clock on the opponent. It's all situational. This is more of a funny deck. I do miss a lot of the cards that... This is just not going to be as strong as what Homicidal Seclusion allowed, because we also had things like Barter and Blood and Bonfire of the Damned at the time. But I'm going to keep trying. I did tune this since I know a lot of things, well, they're not rotating out soon, but I'm just not investing into Standard. So a lot of things I'm not going to get, like Hero's Downfall or Thoughtseize would be the obvious inclusions. But I'm just going to keep this active for a while, and hopefully we get some new cards to plug and chug in here. I don't know, of course, any feedback, if I don't keep this updated, definitely let me know if something nifty comes along. But I hope you enjoy.